Your sick daughter brings down our family image, my sister Victoria announced at Thanksgiving dinner, her wine glass catching the chandelier light. We have standards to maintain. I sat at the far end of the table, my 7-year-old daughter Emma, sleeping upstairs after another exhausting round of treatments. The turkey grew cold on my plate as 20 pairs of eyes studied me with varying degrees of disgust. Sarah's right, my brother Marcus added, adjusting his Rolex. The Hendersons are a respected family. Having a child with that condition reflects poorly on all of us. Do you know what people say at the club? They ask questions, Victoria continued, warming to her theme. Questions we shouldn't have to answer. Why isn't she in a specialized facility? Why do you bring her to family events? Can't you see how uncomfortable it makes everyone? My mother dabbed her lips with a linen napkin, silent. My father nodded slowly, his jaw set in that familiar line of disappointment I'd known my entire life. The same expression he'd worn when I'd announced my pregnancy, when I'd chosen to raise Emma alone, when I'd moved into a modest apartment instead of accepting their conditional support. Perhaps, Aunt Patricia suggested delicately, there are facilities, places better equipped than your small apartment. The child would receive proper care and you could focus on rejoining society. There's that excellent state institution upstate. Very clean. Very professional. I visited one, Cousin Jennifer added helpfully. For my volunteer work. They have activities. Group therapy. The children seem content enough. Content enough, I repeated softly, testing the words. I looked down at my hands, watching them tremble slightly, not from anger but from exhaustion. From 3 years of hospital visits, insurance battles, and nights spent researching experimental treatments while my daughter fought for normalcy. Emma has a name, I said quietly. Don't be dramatic, Victoria snapped, her perfectly manicured nails tapping the table. We're trying to help. You've let yourself go completely. Look at you. That's a clearance rack dress, isn't it? Cousin Jennifer giggled behind her hand. I saw her car in the driveway. That ancient sedan. How embarrassing. The medical bills must be crushing you, Uncle Robert said, not unkindly. We understand. But there are options, government programs, Medicaid facilities. We cannot have the Henderson name associated with charity cases, my father stated flatly. Your choices have consequences, Melissa. I stood slowly, pushing back from the table. I should check on Emma. Running away as always, Marcus muttered. Can't face reality. I climbed the stairs to the guest room where Emma slept, her small chest rising and falling steadily. The medication made her sleep deeply, a mercy after the pain she endured during waking hours. I sat on the edge of the bed and pulled out my phone. The screen glowed with notifications. The hospital billing department had sent the monthly summary. I scrolled through the charges, each one a knife I'd learned to endure. $47,000 for the latest treatment cycle, $12,000 for specialist consultations, $8,500 for the medications that kept Emma comfortable. But there were other bills on my phone, bills my family didn't know about. My mother's preferred oncologist, the one outside her insurance network, $3,200 monthly. My father's cardiac specialist at the private clinic, $5,800 quarterly. The estate's second mortgage that Dad's firm couldn't cover after the market downturn, $8,900 monthly. Uncle Robert's experimental heart medication, $2,400 monthly. Aunt Patricia's rheumatology treatments, $1,600 monthly. 4 years of payments. 48 months of quietly covering gaps while they discussed my failures over holiday dinners. I opened the banking app, navigating to the account management section. My finger hovered over several recurring payment authorizations. Then I began canceling them one by one. Laughter drifted up from downstairs. Someone had turned on music. They'd moved past the awkward moment of my exit and returned to their celebration of themselves. I texted the group chat my siblings maintained. By the way, I'm stopping all of Mom's medical payments I've been covering. And Dad's cardiac specialist bills. Manage your family image, now. I turned off my phone and gathered Emma in her sleep, carefully carrying her to the car. We'd stay at a hotel tonight. Somewhere quiet, somewhere we didn't have to justify our existence. The weekend passed in a blur of room service and children's movies. Emma felt well enough to giggle at the cartoons, her spirits lifted by the absence of family judgment. I ignored the flood of calls and texts lighting up my phone. Monday morning arrived with a different kind of notification. The hospital billing department's automated system had sent confirmation. All guarantor authorizations for Patricia Henderson's accounts had been canceled. All recurring payments for Robert Henderson's cardiology treatments had been stopped. The mortgage assistance program for the Henderson family estate had been terminated. My email showed the full cascade. The specialty pharmacy had flagged my mother's account for non-payment. The private imaging center had sent a past due notice to my father. The estate management company had scheduled a review meeting about the lapsed mortgage support. Uncle Robert's cardiac surgeon's office had left 3 voicemails about payment arrangements. The foundation I'd built under their lives was crumbling, one authorization at a time. I'd been paying these bills for 4 years. Ever since my software company's acquisition had left me with resources my family never suspected I possessed. While they saw my modest apartment and older car, they never asked why I seemed so calm about Emma's astronomical medical costs. They never wondered how a single mother managed private specialists and experimental treatments. They'd assumed I was drowning, barely surviving. A cautionary tale they could reference when discussing the importance of marrying well and making proper choices. My phone finally rang with a number I recognized. My mother's cell. Melissa. Her voice was tight. The hospital called. They're saying there's been some mistake with my payment arrangements. There's no mistake, Mom. I don't understand. They said you've been the guarantor on my accounts for years. That's impossible. You don't have that kind of money. I do actually. I've had it for quite a while now. Silence stretched between us. I could hear her breathing, processing information that didn't fit her narrative of me. The company I founded, I continued quietly, sold for $200 million 3 years ago. A healthcare data analytics platform that helps hospitals reduce costs and improve patient outcomes. Ironic, isn't it? I built technology that helps families like ours navigate medical systems. I kept that private because I wanted Emma to have a normal childhood, not grow up as a target for fortune hunters and fake friends. I've been covering your medical bills since Dad's insurance wouldn't pay for your preferred specialists. I've been helping with the estate mortgage since Dad's firm took those losses. Uncle Robert's heart treatments. Aunt Patricia's medication costs. All of it. The acquisition made headlines in the tech sector. You never noticed because you'd already decided what my life looked like. A struggling single mother in a cheap apartment with an old car. That narrative was comfortable for you. It explained why I couldn't attend every family function, why I looked tired, why I wore clearance rack dresses. Why would you? She trailed off. There's your family. Despite everything, your family. I thought maybe if I helped quietly, proved myself useful, you'd eventually see Emma and me as worthy of belonging. Melissa, sweetheart, we never meant. Mom, they called my daughter that condition. In my hearing. At a family dinner. They suggested institutionalizing her so the Henderson name wouldn't be tainted. Victoria was just upset. She's going through her own struggles with. I don't care. My voice remained steady, calm. I've spent 4 years covering everyone's problems while raising a medically complex child alone. I've liquidated investments, restructured portfolios, and managed financial emergencies for this entire family. And last Thursday, I sat at that table and listened to 20 people discuss whether my daughter's existence was an acceptable social burden. The hotel room was quiet except for Emma's soft breathing. She'd woken up and was coloring in her activity book, content in our temporary refuge. The bills will start arriving this week, I said. Mom's imaging center doesn't accept payment plans. They require payment within 30 days or they discharge patients. Dad's cardiac specialist requires quarterly deposits of $17,400. The estate's property taxes are due in 30 days. $34. Uncle Robert's cardiologist bills monthly, and he's 3 months behind now that I've stopped covering it. That's $7,200 past due. Aunt Patricia's medication costs $1,600 monthly, and most pharmacies won't fill prescriptions with outstanding balances. I let the number sink in. These weren't abstract concepts anymore. These were real bills with real deadlines arriving in their real mailboxes. Melissa, please. You can't just. I have. The bank confirmed all authorization cancellations this morning. My father's voice came through the phone, distant but audible. Put it on speaker. The audio clicked and suddenly I was addressing both of them. You made your fortune and said nothing? My father's tone carried that familiar disappointment, now mixed with confusion. I said nothing because the moment any of you knew I had resources, I'd become an ATM instead of a daughter. I wanted to help because I was family, not because I was useful. That's not fair, my mother protested. We love you. You love the version of me that needs you, the struggling single mother who made poor choices and faces consequences. That version confirms your worldview. The successful version who's been subsidizing your lifestyle for years. That version makes you uncomfortable. Emma looked up from her coloring, sensing the tension in my voice. I smiled at her, keeping my tone even. Here's what happens next, I said. I'm going to continue building my life with Emma. I've enrolled her in a new school with exceptional special needs support. We're moving to a larger place near her treatment center. I'm expanding my new company and focusing on my actual family. We are your actual family, my father insisted. You told me my daughter brings down your family image. That's not family. That's a brand you're protecting. Marcus's voice joined the conversation, aggressive. You can't blackmail us into accepting your choices. I'm not blackmailing anyone. I'm simply no longer subsidizing people who view my child as a social liability. The bills I've been paying? They're your responsibility now. The medical treatments, the specialists, the estate costs. All yours. We can't afford all of that, my mother said, panic creeping into her voice. Your father's insurance only covers partial. Then you'll need to make choices. Downsize the estate. Use in-network doctors. Apply for assistance programs. All the things you suggested I do while raising Emma. Victoria's voice cut through, sharp and angry. You're being petty. Punishing us for one dinner conversation. No, Victoria. I'm setting boundaries. There's a difference. My brother spoke up again. How much did you say your company sold for? That's no longer your concern. Melissa, be reasonable. Uncle Robert's voice joined the increasingly crowded call. We're family. We support each other. I've been supporting you for 4 years. Financial records don't lie. I have spreadsheets tracking every payment, every emergency I've covered, every temporary loan that was never repaid. The support has been extraordinarily one-directional. The silence on the other end told me they were processing this new reality. The family failure they'd pitted had been the financial foundation keeping their comfortable lives stable. The daughter they'd dismissed had been the safety net they never acknowledged. We can discuss this reasonably, my father finally said, his tone shifting to the negotiation voice he used in business. Perhaps we were harsh. Emma is welcome at family gatherings, of course. We'll be more thoughtful. I don't want performative acceptance. I want genuine respect for both of us. That's what I'm offering, he insisted. No, Dad. You're offering tolerance because you've realized I control resources you need. That's not the same thing. Emma finished her coloring page and brought it to show me. A family of flowers in a garden, each bloom different but growing together in the same soil. I hugged her close. This child who saw the world with more wisdom than the adults who judged her. I need to go, I said. Emma and I have appointments today. Wait, my mother pleaded. Can we meet? Talk about this properly? Maybe eventually. When I'm ready. When Emma's ready. On our terms, not yours. I ended the call and powered down my phone completely. The hotel room felt peaceful in the silence. Emma climbed into my lap, her small arms wrapping around my neck. Are we going home soon? She asked. We're going to our new home, I told her. A place where we're wanted exactly as we are. The new apartment had 3 bedrooms with a medical supply room so her equipment didn't crowd her space. The building had an accessible playground and neighbors with kids facing various challenges. Nobody stared. Emma would just be Emma there. The text messages piled up over the following days. The angry ones from Marcus about family loyalty, the desperate ones from my mother about payment deadlines, the calculating ones from Victoria suggesting we could all move past this misunderstanding. But I'd already made my choice. I'd spent years being the invisible support system for people who couldn't see my value until it disappeared. Emma deserved better. She deserved a mother who set boundaries and demanded respect. She deserved a life where she wasn't discussed as a liability but celebrated as a person. The estate would likely need to be sold. The luxury medical care my parents preferred would need to be scaled back. Uncle Robert would discover what in-network cardiology looked like. Aunt Patricia would learn about generic medications. They'd learn the same lessons they'd expected me to learn. How to manage with less, how to navigate systems without connections, how to make difficult choices. But unlike me, they wouldn't have someone quietly covering the gaps. They wouldn't have an invisible safety net catching them when they fell. They'd have exactly what they'd offered me: suggestions about government programs and facility care, advice about managing expectations and accepting reality. I gathered Emma's things and checked us out of the hotel. Our new apartment waited across town, already furnished, already safe. A place where medical equipment didn't need to be hidden in shame, where my daughter's differences were accommodated, not criticized. As I buckled Emma into her car seat, my phone buzzed one last time before I silenced it completely. The hospital billing department confirming my mother's account was now past due, the estate management company noting the mortgage assistance had lapsed, the specialty pharmacy requesting new payment information for prescriptions. The consequences were beginning. Not for me this time, but for the family that had spent years judging me while standing on the foundation I'd built beneath them. I drove toward our future, my daughter humming softly in the back seat, and felt lighter than I had in years. The weight of their approval had been crushing me. The burden of their acceptance had cost me my peace. Now I had something better: self-respect, boundaries, and the certainty that my daughter would grow up knowing her worth wasn't determined by people too blind to see it. The Henderson family image would survive, or it wouldn't. Either way, it was no longer my responsibility to maintain.